It's time. It's time for the Billy Flint Experience.
Thank you so much for joining me here at the Billy Flint Experience. I am Billy Flint. Hope everyone is having a wonderful, wonderful weekend. It is officially fall here in Germany. And it's also allergy season. So if you hear a little nasally in my voice on this podcast, it's because my allergies are acting up. But once again, thank you so much for joining me. We're coming live here in Germany. And once again, this is the Billy Flint Experience, and I am Billy Flint. Thank you so much for joining me. We're going to get right into the subject. And I have to be honest, I wanted to wait on getting the facts about the subject that we're going to talk about today. And I wanted to broach this subject very carefully out of the respect for Michael K. Williams' family and his legacy. So I wanted to wait, because I don't know if everyone knows who he is, but he is a Black American actor, best known for his role of Omar in The Wire, but he also did quite a few more movies, guest appearances, and he was a very respected actor and artist in the movie industry. So, again, I wanted to, as I said, I wanted to wait until I got all the facts and information before I approached this subject. Because actually, it kind of hit home, his death. And the toxicology report ruled that it was an accidental death. And what they were saying is that what was in his system were many drugs. And of course, the most desired drug of today is fentanyl. But they were saying that it was fentanyl, it was parafluorofentanyl, heroin, and cocaine in his system. And again, like I said, this hits home because I have a very good friend who is struggling with drug addiction today. And the one thing that perplexed me in the death of Michael K. Williams is because of the fact he was a well-respected actor in his craft. And by, people's account that was close to the actor, and I don't know whether it has something to do with the fact that, when everyone dies, everyone comes out and say wonderful things about the individual, but yet say anything about them while they're still alive. But that's neither here nor there. The thing is that most of the people that had nothing but rave reviews for his craft, and as an individual, those that were very close to him, as an individual, they said that he was a very down-to-earth, very upbeat, happy individual. And of course, I've always asked myself, and maybe I don't know because I'm not on that level of riches, of fame, the celebrity lifestyle, And many of us on the other end of the spectrum of dealing with our situations of life and the stresses and the problems and the dramas, many of us don't have for one, the money, the connections to branch out and experiment with different drugs to help pacify the situations that, we all find ourselves going through, especially now in today's world and time. What's going on worldwide with the pandemic and all, and the vax and the non-vax, and then the information that is we're constantly being bombarded with information daily. We can't escape from it. It's on all social medias. It's on all news sites across Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. It's just everywhere. We can't escape it. It's all over the internet. And it seems as though the way that the governments are playing a game, they're playing this game with our minds, with our psyche. And it's been ramped up since the introduction of the vaccine. But prior to that, when the pandemic first started, it was an attack on our psyche, on our emotions, of not knowing what is going on, what's going to come next. Then they took it up a notch with the lockdowns, and then opening everything up, and then locking things down again, and then opening things up once more, and then shutting it half down, and then telling you that you have to wear your mask, and then they're saying that you don't have to wear your mask. And that's one thing that I was noticing all of last year, is that a lot of my personal friends are going through a lot mentally, to where a lot of people are having like really serious mental health problems. And, again, when it comes to the celebrity lifestyle, it is polarized, because from the onset, from us on the outside looking in, we're looking at their lifestyle and their notoriety, and in a sense, to think like, well, why are they having such a hard time? Because they have money. We all know that money can't buy happiness, but money can resolve a lot of the problems that the normal people on the other end of the spectrum have ways to deal with situations. More so than what the average person without money. So then, the toxicology report came back and said that these drugs were in Michael K. Williams' body, and it was ruled as an accidental overdose, which is okay. But again, as I said, when it's attached to a celebrity, it's polarized. But if you think about it, it's always been a part of America's problem. Drugs, no matter what it was, it's always been there, and it's not going anywhere. That's why the whole thing about war on drugs, and it's almost a fallacy. It's almost it's a joke. Again, it's playing with the psyche. It's like saying, okay, we're gonna fight this, we're gonna deal with this, but in all actuality, it's being promoted. It's being brought into the country somehow. Although fentanyl is a synthetic opioid, nonetheless, it's still a drug, and it's still one of the many drugs being abused today. And that got me thinking about. As a matter of fact, there's this book. Let's see if I can find this. There's this book, and It's called Drugs in Germany and the United States, 1819 to 1945. And the author's name is Jonathan Louis. That's Lewey. Louis. Jonathan Louis. And the synopsis of the book is talking about how drugs have always been imported into the country, into the United States. And like I said, the basic synopsis is this. I'll read it to you. It says that the use of drugs is as old as history. However, it was only fairly recently that, following the rise of modern medicine, the concept of drug addiction was born and came to be seen as a clinical and social disorder. Focusing on the period from 1800 to the end of World War II, this book traces the way drug addiction developed in two different countries, i.e., Germany and the United States. Very, very interesting book. And I know for sure that during World War II, look at this. During World War II, the Nazi Party, the scientists in the Nazi Party used to give their soldiers an opioid called Pervitin. Pervitin. You might want to Google that. Pervitin. It's like it's heroin in a tablet form, but it's called Pervitin. It is a methamphetamine, but it would boost. It's like a stimulant. It was given to the soldiers so they would be able to fight and not allow the war or their surroundings affect them psychologically. So what Pervitin did, it's almost like it was like ecstasy, minus the happy feeling of one to be, touched or kissed or whatever. But Pervitin was given to the soldiers so they would almost develop a detachment from what they were doing, killing. And it put them on this level of not a high, but just kind of like numb their emotions to where they were able to fight the war. And again, Pervitin came from Germany. It was given to the soldiers. So there has always been an influx of drugs coming into the United States, even back in the 40s. Whether it was brought in by the government, by the CIA, by the Italians, the French, the Chinese, I can go on and on and on. All of this stuff is fact. All of this stuff is documented. Even right down to how the Italians were used by the CIA to import drugs into the community, into the inner cities, in which a lot of black people and Latino people fell prey to it. Of course, cocaine was always been considered a rich white man's drug. And of course, they pretty much gave us everything else, which is your heroin, which is your crack. And now all of the other psychedelic drugs, designer drugs that are being used today. But anyways, like I said, going back to Michael K. Williams, and when the report first came out that he had overdosed, And they were saying, the media was saying that they were looking for the individual that gave him the drugs. And when I heard that, and when I read it, I thought to myself that that's a cause wasted of time. Why are you going to go after the person that sold them drugs? Like, that's really going to make a difference. Like I said, drugs is just a part of almost every country's society, except for some. Thailand don't play it. Thailand does not play it. And Thailand has a very tumultuous history with the French. And the reasons why they have a zero tolerance for drugs. If you get caught with drugs in Thailand, you will spend either the rest of your life in their prison or you're executed. They have it on the signs soon as you exit the international airport. I think it's called circumvent airport, international airport. I might have that wrong, but anyway, as soon as you exit the airport from the international side, there's signs posted where it's giving you a warning. They're giving you a fair warning, and it's written in every language. So you can't say, well, it wasn't written in English and I didn't understand Thai. But it's written there as soon as you exit, giving you a fair warning. And like I said, because of their tumultuous history with the French imperialists, the colonizers that came in from French and turned their culture upside down. But it was the French, it was America, it was also Great Britain. So I can't say totally the French, because the French, it was really Cambodia and the French. That's what I was thinking. The Cambodia and the French, they had a tumultuous relationship. But it was all during that whole time during Vietnam, the 50s and the 60s and the 70s. They had proxy wars going on, and basically it had a lot to do with drugs. That's what I'm saying. That's the point that I'm making. It had a lot to do with drugs. The importing of drugs from Thailand, from Cambodia, and from Vietnam. Some from Laos too. So America has always had a deal. They were always dealing with drugs and dealing with getting them imported into America. And the same thing with Great Britain. Of course, Great Britain with India and Hong Kong, China, with the opium. And of course, we know where the opium comes from. The opium comes right from Afghanistan. And they were they had processing plants in Italy. They had processing plants also in the south of France. Corsica is one name that pops up. But they had these processing plants to process the poppy plant, the opium, and then into heroin. So they've always had these deals taking place. And that's why I find it very interesting that when a celebrity dies accidentally of these illicit drugs, and like I said, it becomes polarized. It's something to be aware of, when for decades it's been a part of American history. Either as a social drug or as an underground drug. Doesn't matter. So that's my take. Again, I wanted to wait to do a podcast to make sure that information was solid, and I didn't want to jump the gun because Michael K. Williams could have died of other. It could have been other situations that caused his death. So I wanted to make sure. And before I go, like I was saying, his death, Michael K. Williams' death, it comes close to home. The reason I said it is because I have a good friend, as I said earlier, is dealing with the same problem of drugs and drug addiction. And I'm pretty much sure, everyone knows someone or maybe have a family member, and it touches a chord with me because this individual is someone who, and I still haven't lost any love or respect for this individual, but it's disheartening to watch an individual struggle with an addiction, and there's nothing that you can do about it. I mean, you can try the interventions, and you can try hiding the drugs or some other means of trying to get your loved one off of away from their addiction, but it is very, very difficult because that is something that is personal that they are struggling with. So there's nothing that you can possibly do. There's nothing that I could possibly do for my friend that I still have a great depth of love for. But to see an individual struggling through their addiction, and you feeling helpless and you can't do anything, the only thing that you can do is just be a moral support for them. And that's what I am to my friend. I am a moral support. Whenever that individual wants to call me, they know that they can always call me, and that I am always available, either in person or over the phone, but I'm always there. So that's what I meant by it hitting home. But once again, rest in peace, Michael K. Williams. Respect to his family and his legacy. Thank you so much for listening to the Billy Flint Experience. I am Billy Flint. Thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to being with you again. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, and a great start of a new week.